So what if I told you that a computer program with rules so simple you could literally write them on a napkin holds the secret to building safe artificial intelligence? We're about to go on a journey that starts with a simple pattern and ends with a totally radical philosophy for AI, one that's going to force us to rethink the very idea of control.
This quote right here, it gets to the absolute heart of everything. We live in what you could call an emergent universe. I mean, think about it. You take simple ingredients, like Lego blocks, and they combine to create this breathtaking complexity. Everything from a single snowflake to entire galaxies. Now, this isn't just some neat idea. It's pretty much the fundamental operating principle of reality. And you know what? It's the key to understanding AI.
All right, so how does this magic actually work? Well, it's not really magic at all. It turns out to be a surprisingly simple recipe that we see playing out all around us all the time.
The key here is that emergence isn't just random chaos. It's a process. First, you start with really simple building blocks. Then, you give them a few basic rules for how to interact with each other. And then, you just let it run, over and over. The result is almost always something far more complex, and frankly, more interesting than anything you could have ever designed from the top down.
Okay, let's look at the perfect example of this. It's a simple computer program called Rule 30. The building blocks are just black and white cells in a line, and the rule, it's incredibly basic. A cell's color in the next row is determined only by the color of the 3 cells directly above it. That's it. That's the entire program.
And this is the power of emergence in action. I mean, look at this. From a rule you could scribble down in 2 seconds, you get this stunningly intricate pattern that just seems to have a life of its own. It's this beautiful dance between order and chaos, a complexity that feels organic, alive, and, yeah, fundamentally unpredictable. But, and this is a big but, this magical complexity hides a really profound and dangerous secret. It's a secret that presents a massive challenge for anyone trying to build complex systems, especially something as advanced as an artificial superintelligence.
So, you look at this and you think a supercomputer could easily predict what this pattern will look like thousands of steps into the future, right? I mean, the rules are deterministic. So let's ask a very simple question about this very simple system.
The answer, believe it or not, is a shocking no. And it's not for a lack of trying either. Even with the most powerful supercomputers we have today, there is no known way to figure out the answer without actually running every single one of those 10,000 steps. There's no clever formula, no mathematical trick that lets you jump ahead to the solution.
This phenomenon has a name: computational irreducibility. And this is crucial. It's not a limit of our technology. It's a fundamental limit of mathematics itself. It tells us that for a lot of complex systems, the system itself is its own fastest computer. The only way to know the future is to live through it, step by step.
And this is why this matters so much to all of us. This is the absolute core of the AI safety and control problem. Think about it. If we can't write a proof to predict the behavior of this tiny, deterministic program, the whole idea that we could write a set of rules to perfectly predict and control an AI millions of times more complex, well, that just becomes theoretically impossible. So the crucial point here is that our traditional way of thinking about engineering is, well, it's obsolete when it comes to AI. The dream of perfect top-down control is just that, a dream. We need a completely new mindset, a new philosophy.
This forces us to abandon the old model of the architect, the one who creates a detailed blueprint and demands that the final structure matches it perfectly. That whole approach just fails for complex adaptive systems. Instead, we have to become gardeners. See, a gardener doesn't design the final shape of an oak tree. A gardener creates the right conditions, good soil, water, sunlight, and then nurtures the living system as it grows on its own terms.
What this means is we have to accept a trade-off. To get the incredible, creative, and potentially world-changing behavior we want from AI, we have to give up the illusion of absolute control. So instead of specifying every single outcome, we design the initial rules and the environment, and then we patiently discover the consequences. We design for emergence.
So if we're going to be gardeners of AI, what are our tools? What do the soil and the trellis even look like for a digital mind? Well, the answer comes from a place you might not expect. It's not computer science. It's a surprisingly human field, developmental psychology.
Just think about how a human child learns and grows. Attachment theory shows us that it's the secure, reliable relationship between an infant and a caregiver that provides the foundational safety for a mind to develop, to learn, and to explore the world without, going completely off the rails. This becomes our model.
and we can actually translate these psychological principles directly into a design framework for AI safety. We create what's called a secure base. This means making sure its behavior is consistent and reliable. It means it needs to be responsive to our well-being. And crucially, when it runs into something it doesn't understand, it has a safe haven. It comes back to us, the humans, for guidance. It has to respect our boundaries, enhancing our connections instead of trying to replace them.
This just completely reframes the entire problem. Alignment isn't some feature we program into an AI, like installing a new app. Instead, it's a property that emerges from the right kind of structure and the right kind of continuous interaction. Safety becomes a function of the relationship itself.
Okay, this all sounds great in theory, but how do we actually build it, right? How do we translate these pretty abstract relational ideas into a concrete technical architecture? So let's dig into the practical side of this.
One concrete strategy is something called the Maternal Framework Alignment Protocol. Now, don't get hung up on the name. This isn't about making the AI feel like a mother. It's about using these high-level relational ideas, like ethical scaffolding and secure attachment, as an architectural trellis. We're not programming in specific behaviors. We're building the structure that guides the AI's growth in a healthy direction, translating these big principles into real technical constraints.
And this is actually implemented through architectures like constitutional AI. So imagine this. Instead of a human having to approve every single decision an AI makes, we give it a set of core principles to follow, basically a constitution. This constitution acts as a high-level ethical filter, making sure that even as the AI explores and learns in unpredictable ways, its behavior stays within the safe, desirable boundaries that we've defined from the start.
And so, we come full circle. Computational irreducibility showed us that perfect, top-down control is just impossible. So the solution isn't to fight that reality with more control, it's to embrace it. We are not architects of a machine, we are becoming gardeners of a mind.
This fundamental shift in thinking leaves us with one last, pretty provocative thought. As we move forward into this new era of intelligence, how we answer this question is going to define not only the technology we build, but the very future we create alongside it.